We should be the Alexis Lawless for the left. We can all do a podcast together. Says, Daddy can't call me because he died.
Mine not yet, but we're waiting patiently.
I tuned in to watch Trinity Rodman do her interview on Call Her Daddy, which was Call Her Daddy's they had...
it's a monolith
It's a tremendous, very, very popular podcast.
Is it like the women's Joe Rogan?
I guess.
Yeah, it might be.
Kamala Harris was on the show.
Yeah, so I guess yes.
Or whatever. I've always said we should be the Alexis Lawless for the left.
Yeah.
I'd say we could be that.
Wow.
I love how both Alexis and Carter absolutely cringed at that description. So,
shouts to Alexis. It's very hard to explain to people. He's nice in person. We don't want to be that. We don't want to be anything near that on the show.
That's right. We're nice on air, but we're mean in person.
We're real pricks. Especially Carter. You get no access to us when he's around.
But no, Trinity Rodman was on Call Her Daddy. I watched the whole interview. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was. This is, and with all due respect to the host of Call Her Daddy,
who used to play soccer. She was apparently a big deal in college. Yeah.
But I was watching it and I was like, yo, Trinity Rodman should be hosting Call Her Daddy, bro. She'd be great. She was so good.
She is good.
She was so vulnerable and honest. And, she talked about Dennis Rodman and everybody's pulling a lot of quotes.
Or her and I could start a podcast called Don't Call Me Daddy. You know?
That's right.
Yeah. So we can avoid our fathers. Or I'll start one called Who's My Daddy?
Or we can all do a podcast together that says, Daddy can't call me because he died.
Yeah. That's mine not yet, but we're waiting patiently.
So we're all figuring, we're still coming up with a name.
If I ever pop a bottle of champagne on the show, that's the day my dad died.
So all I'm saying is that I bonded with Trinity Rodman even more because we all have such severe daddy issues.
The same emotional baggage.
But hearing her talk about Dennis Rodman and there was a lot of specifics in general, just about he's just their parents got divorced. He was, not really providing child support. They were in very difficult financial situations, living out of a car, living in a motel. And when you think of the child of an NBA player, it's like, how can they even be in that scenario at all? But that's apparently like they were in those situations from time to time. Yeah. And just hearing about sort of like Dennis Rodman's irresponsibility or recklessness, partying too much, drinking too much, with children.
Nothing surprising, but you never think about, I said this on Morning Footy, like, we as fans of the sport, you sometimes revere these athletes for being kind of crazy and partying, and the next day they can find a way to perform and play in a playoff game like in the Last Dance show, but you don't think about what damage that's doing to the people that are waiting for them at home.
Totally. Yeah.
And we're getting like a real view, right? It was because of Trinity Rodman's celebrity, because she's so good at the sport that she put her time and effort in that allows her the platform to talk about this. And now we're learning about someone that we revered at one point.
Yeah. And we did interview her in 2021.
That's right.
Some people may remember.
This was an episode called Christian Still Had a Daddy.
This was back,
a while back.
Back then, you can see how sad my face is.
Also, shouts to barbers that closed during COVID for me.
But we asked about her dad, and this, just to give some, just to preface this, before we interviewed her, this is before she ever played a game for the Washington Spirit. She had just gotten drafted. Yep. The Spirit, this is like, this is before the NWSL. This is before, this is after the NWSL Challenge Cup and stuff like that. Yeah. So this is after the draft and stuff like that. But, so we hadn't seen her play, but we got the opportunity to interview her. And obviously they sort of told us like, hey, she doesn't really like talking about her dad. But it was like, we can't not talk about her dad at all.
We understood how to ask about her father. Exactly. Let's just say that.
And so this is us talking about her and her dad.
Okay. Most people's parents, like, I grew up without a father, but my mom, I wouldn't say she was cool. You know what I mean? Like, your dad has like a different. Was he corny to you at some point? Were you like, like, do you dress different just because you're like, if God forbid I wear something bedazzled, they're gonna say like I'm like my father. You know what I mean?
He was a weirdo, yeah. I don't know. My style and everything's pretty like chill for the most part. I'm not afraid to like wear a bunch of like weird stuff, but I'm just like pretty chill for the most part. I think as I get older, I'll find more of like my own style and like.
All right, sure. I played that for too long, but so she was able to joke around about.
Yeah, she didn't get shocked or rocked by us talking about it.
Yeah, because I mean, and I highly recommend go checking out the Call Her Daddy podcast, and because it's
anger that I haven't really been able to let out is like difficult for me.
I think a lot of people would assume because you're Dennis Rodman's daughter, money wasn't an issue for you growing up.
We had an expedition and we kind of lived in that for a little bit. We tried to live with him, but he's having parties 24/7. He's bringing random in. He loves the spotlight. He loves the cameras. He loves.
So the tone is very different from our show. This is the reason I play that.
Okay.
So, and that is it.
Bro, why didn't we get this answer? No. Shouts to Trinity Rodman for growing into the kind of person who can have this conversation on camera, because that's huge.
Because it's not, and she is 22 years old, and the reason I talk about this is because her talking about Dennis Rodman and all the issues that she kind of had, it reminded me of experiences with my father, and just like being, again, partying too much and just not acting their age and being irresponsible. Like,
she talks about how her father showed up to one of her playoff games. The final
in 2021,
and they made a big deal of it because it's Dennis Rodman. The club didn't know, but she was not expecting that, and it kind of rocked her. And it maybe threw her off in her game a little bit, and she kind of hugged him and crying, but not because she was happy to see it, and then they marketed it as like a daddy-daughter
thing,
moment. But my father was not invited to my wedding and just showed up.
Really?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
Oh, I didn't know that.
You didn't remember I told you the story? My friend tried to fight him.
I don't remember that. No.
One of my friends from Newark, shouts to friends from Newark, walked up to him and goes, "Hey, Alexis turned out pretty well." My father was like, "Yeah, he did." And he goes, "Yeah, no thanks to you." And he had to be separated from. I was like, "I don't fight my dad." Shouts to Newark friends though. Bro.
So just a shout out to Trinity Rodman, because it was.
But what I mean is, you talk about bringing up like PTSD or whatever. That must have been very difficult for her to like reveal, and she also says like the reason they haven't talked about it is because they've kind of covered for him because they don't want to paint him as a bad guy. Think about that duality of like, you hurt me, but I don't want people to think you hurt me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like it's a challenge of like, if you criticize your own father, it's not just criticizing your father. You're also sort of criticizing your family. You're sort of criticizing your mother. You're
also people's hero.
Yeah, right. Totally.
This is someone who's beloved by anyone who's a Chicago Bulls fan loves this guy.
Yeah. And more than anything, it just sounds like she is probably tired of like the questions about her dad. Is your dad proud of you? And blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, I don't really know the guy like that or whatever. So I just credit her. She's obviously a young woman, really becoming a global superstar in the world of soccer, and I think this is an important milestone for her. Not just like doing the interview and just being like, "Yo, now everybody knows. Stop asking.
Stop. Yeah, leave it alone now."
But it's even for herself to be like, "Hey, this is the truth. This is the reality. This is who my father is. This is my perception of him. And now that everybody knows, nobody has to like sort of kowtow and be like."
Also, now when he shows up to a Washington Spirit game, the team knows to be like, "Hey, we're going to put you in the box where it has the tinted windows, and you're not going to get to see Trinity." You know what I mean?
So credit to her. No, I know it's
very much so. I'm actually like, from someone who we don't know her very well, but we interviewed her so long ago.
Yeah,
I'm really proud that she's gotten to this point where she can have this conversation.